Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we're going to be playing the waiting game on Twitter here. One of our agents in the community, Rogue Gaming UK, asked Terry Spire and Yannick if we're going to be getting any information on the Division game based on just the long silence that they've had and a lot of the different games news that have been coming to light since Gamescom. And, this was a very interesting question that, he posed. And I thought I'm probably going to just go ahead and link this in the description for you guys so you can read the thread. Nothing really big. It was just a few responses. But Terry Spire took the time to actually reply. Now, for those of you who don't know who this is, Terry Spire is the creative director on Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland at Ubisoft Red Storm. If you don't know who Yannick is the associate creative director at Massive for the Division game. So they have played some level of collaboration in terms of both games, Division 1 and Division 2, but now it appears that, Red Storm is going to be doing their own thing and Terry is going to be, basically running that show. So Terry went ahead and replied and said, hey, Rogue, as I'm sure you know, Yannick and I aren't the folks responsible for deciding when news about dates and game progress happens. When we have a green light to give status updates, we will. So this is something that, everybody knows this. I mean, I've said this many times and I cannot reiterate it. I cannot over-iterate it because sometimes, in the community here, we talk about the game and some people usually would say the developers are doing these things wrong and blah, blah, blah. But truly, this is just the way it is. I mean, where I work for now, I have bosses. If one day I decide I don't want to work and be my own boss, then I can make my own decisions and call my own shots. I think that's kind of the same place that these developers find themselves. And another thing, too, is marketing is also something that they're very subject to. For some of you who don't necessarily know, marketing is a very strong arm of a lot of these game development corporation publishers. They pretty much run the entire show, if you were to ask me, as to what information we're going to be getting as gamers. And so with this information to light, we're just going to be playing the waiting game. Now, while you're waiting, the question really comes to, stand. And that question is, what are you going to be playing, or what really looks good out there to play? And please don't tell me Battlefield 2042 or 2025. I don't know. That's a first-person game, and many of us here in the Division community, we really are not into first-person games. Now, yes, some of us are into Battlefield per se. That's a specific title, but I decided to say let's just put that one aside and let's ask about the other games so far. The truth is, even if you have those other games show up, they still cannot necessarily provide for us what the Division has provided in the past, say, 5 years. If you go from 2016 and come all the way down to 2021, it's just been a unique game for most of us. And so I think that's why many people in the community are, inquiring, and many people are asking. But I do appreciate the fact that, he took the time to answer that. And this is also kind of in line with what Yannick also replied a few weeks ago when somebody asked them. There's just nothing to talk about right now in terms of people giving the green light. But if I really wanted to go crazy, though, if I wanted to go ham, why don't we do this? Why don't we dissect his response and even take it word for word apart and see exactly what might be the implications of what he replied? That would be something pretty, interesting to see. So let's take a look at it. So he says this, as I'm sure you know, we're not the folks responsible for deciding when news about dates and game progress happens. When we have a green light to give status updates, we will. Now, this is as vague as you can have it, but I think, in my opinion, this seems like he does have, in one aspect, some enthusiasm to give any status update, whereas, there's the side of people that give the green light to allow for him to do that, who have not given the green light yet. I think that's probably one aspect of it. So you can say, okay, maybe he's excited to talk about the game and no one has actually given him the go ahead to do so. That might be one case. Maybe, in this case, Terry and Yannick, they probably want to tell people, but Ubisoft's like, nope, nothing's being said right now. So they're chilling. Another aspect that you can say is perhaps they actually have a lot of really good stuff and, they really want to show it, but Ubisoft might be playing this weird game where they actually want to, provide more spotlight on their other IPs that are coming very soon. Now, this is something a lot of us have not necessarily paid attention to. I know in the Division community, when we talk about the Ubisoft games, we're usually just focusing, we put our microscope on Massive. but we also have to remember that they have a Far Cry game that they really want to dish out a bunch of copies for. That game's probably taken perhaps maybe 4 or 5 years in production, depending on how much time they've spent on it. I remember, a Far Cry developer from Far Cry 5 saying that they spent about 2 years developing just the open world and coming up with a version that worked. So just imagine if they're going to be doing something like that with their new world called, I think, Yara or something like that. That game must have taken a number of years. So they want to provide some spotlight on that game. And then there's also Riders Republic as well, which is from Ubisoft Annecy. And so these two games by themselves, I think Ubisoft probably wants the new IPs to get the full-blown spotlight. I mean, you're seeing Gamescom basically showcase those two games. And right now, the beta for Riders Republic, I think the word is going around that, you can play maybe an alpha or something like that. So these are things that I believe that Ubisoft may be playing, and the older IPs or the older names, or I would say the smaller, scale games like Tom Clancy's Division Heartland, which is a free-to-play game, and the Division 2, which is a game that is already, 3 years old and is expecting some extra content, have to take the backseat and the back burner. Now, even if they have to take the backseat and the back burner, I think that is actually a smaller issue compared to that very lingering possibility that they may be kicked off the back burner. And that's probably where things are going to be really sour and things are really going to go bad in the community. But as long as that does not happen, I think I'm fine with that part of the decision. If, Terry Spire and Yannick say it's not time for us to talk, we're going to talk when stuff's ready, and then eventually when stuff's ready they come out and they start telling us stuff, that's fine with me. Let Ubisoft market their other games to their other audiences or whatever it is, but as long as they're going to give us the Division content and the Division Heartland, I think we're fine with that. In my opinion anyways, I think I'm fine with that. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I know that there are a number of people that are also, in a sense, waiting for that. Now, some other further considerations, the Rogue Gaming UK pushed a little bit, just kind of said, it's a little, we're getting a little antsy, what's going on. And I'm sure everybody has been talking about this. And there really isn't nothing you can do with the whole Great Wall of Silence. Now, I will say that, I can neither confirm nor deny that I have, gotten some whispers of leaks of what will be coming for the Division 2 content. The only thing is I'm just sitting on what I got because I want to wait for confirmation that is official. I don't want to go ahead and say something and I sound like an idiot if stuff changes. Remember, we had this conversation of features changing because they probably can't get delivered. And knowing that aspect of game development, all I'm just going to say is I strongly believe that Terry's statement is a little reflective of the amount of excitement that the developers have to kind of showcase what they have. The only thing that they have to battle with is the suits, or I would say the shot callers, that are not letting them speak about anything right now. And I can see from at least one perspective of trying to market the new games, they're probably putting a lid on our old IPs and just having us wait till they're ready or till the other games probably start getting pre-order numbers in. And then those games probably, maybe one of them at least, releases. So Far Cry, October, Riders Republic, I can't remember when that comes out. But again, you guys see how these two games, Ubisoft wants to pretty much dish them out and kind of harness all their fall or whatever money that they make in that season. So I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about all of this? Do you think it's appropriate that they take this measure, or do you think it's not? In my opinion, I don't care what measures they take. I just need them to deliver what it is that they've promised to deliver to the community. For now, I'm just going to keep my, I'm just going to keep my head on a low key, and I'm just going to continue to, hope that we don't get shafted or at least get kicked off the back burner. And if we do, it's going to be sad. But again, there are other games that are coming out, like I mentioned, Battlefield and maybe some other people's favorite games that could hold them off. For me, I just don't know if there's much out there till 2022. So honestly, it's kind of a weird situation for me. I'm looking forward to some games in 2022. If the Division goes in and starts to bring out a lot of content in 2022, I'm not going to be mad. It's going to be a lot more games for me to play at that point anyways. So talk to you guys in another video. Thank you so much for listening. Peace out.